7 a.m. to 11 p.m., and the applicant requiring all lessees of the property to have general liability insurance. Is that accurate for minute purposes?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Anyone have any questions about it?
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Chad?
Question, if I may. So the one-year time frame, that it goes back to the May 17th date then?
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on then. Item number 2 is the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Alderman Bostic.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through R.
We have a motion by Alderman Bostic. Do we have a second? Second by Alderman Young. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Young. Aye. Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Geis.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Aye.
Alderman Klein.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. I'd like to point out letter P. One of our longtime employees is going to be retiring June the 30th, and we certainly appreciate all the hard work he's done over in Public Works. All right. Number 3 on your agenda, the claims docket. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Alderman Geis.
I make a motion to approve the claims docket. General fund, $243,610.96. The library fund, $13,512.75. The economic development fund, $2,773.97. The utility fund, $283,027.61. For a total docket of $542,925.29.
We have a motion by Alderman Geis. Do we have a second to his motion?
Second.
Second by Alderman Dupree. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Klein.
$283,027.60.
Alderman Klein.
Yes.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Aye.
Alderman Geis.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Young.
Was Alderman Klein a yea? Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Moving on down, we're coming to planning, which is for conditional use, which is now a public hearing that I declare open. Mr. Barr, would you please start it off?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Alderman. Yes, Chad Barr, Planning Director for this particular case. Yes, we have a PowerPoint to go through. The Planning Commission looked at this particular case back on May the 23rd. They did recommend approval of the request. It was by a 6-0 margin, with one planning commissioner being absent. What it is, it's a request for a gas station at about 6180 Interstate Boulevard. That address is unassigned and unofficial, but it gives kind of a location to the place. And it's by Creative Constructions, LLC, which is the owner, for land zoned as Planned Unit Development, PUD, in the DeSoto Commons PUD area. Specifically, it's a portion of parcel A-5. As I said earlier, it's for a gas/filling station land use. I did confirm with legal counsel the requirement for the conditional use permit for the gas station in the DeSoto Commons PUD wording. So what we did here is I made basically a vicinity map of the area. You can see the area under application is in blue in the center. The Core 5 warehouses, which are currently under construction, as they've been removing trees over there to the east of the subject property. You can see the roads in the area, Nail Road, Interstate Boulevard, labeled. And the area under consideration is approximately 3.06 acres. The area to the north there, you can see in the red, is the designated 100-year floodplain. So it basically comes right to the very edge of the designated floodplain. The yellow area on the outskirts of the 100-year floodplain is the 500-year floodplain. Next slide. This is a rough site plan as submitted by the applicant. It shows basically the main building and then two areas for fuel stations, one being for regular passenger vehicles and the other one for trucks, diesel fuel. Entrance points off the west side. And this would be for both a new use, new land use and a new building, as it's basically a mixture of trees and grass there now. Next slide. Here we have our typical, what I call a placeholder identifier slide. The Planning Commission looks at 6 different factors when they looked at it back in May. It's from Article 10 of the city's zoning ordinance, the letters A, B, C, D, E, and F. And so they went through those one by one back in May. So next slide, please. So I'll just kind of touch on those briefly because there's actually different factors that the alderman, the board, the governing authority has that's different from the Planning Commission. So one of their questions that was before them was letter A, does the proposed use substantially increase traffic hazards or congestion? There was really nothing as far as supplied by the applicant as far as hard numbers or any estimate of traffic generated. As I said earlier, they've got 2 sets of pumps that are anticipated for passenger vehicles and for trucks. Obviously, traffic will be increasing as the Core 5 warehouses come online over the next year or so. And then there was recently approved for the Wilson development on the north side of Nail Road, but on the west side of Interstate Boulevard for 6 smaller warehouse structures. Those will be built sometime here in the next 6 months to a year or so. Staff felt it was a positive feature that this part of town, actually there's 6 lanes of traffic provided through the existing paving network on both Nail Road and Interstate Boulevards. And in some locations, there are turning lanes that are already provided. Next slide. B, substantially increased fire hazards. Nothing of substance supplied by the applicant. It's a positive feature that the unit would be built to the 2018 International Building Code with local amendments. Obviously, anytime when you're talking about fuel, gasoline, I mean, there's always the chance for a fire or explosion. So that's always something to be aware of. Moving on to C, adversely affect the character of the neighborhood. As I stated earlier, there's the 2 Core 5 warehouses being built directly east of the subject property, which those are considered light industrial type land uses. And then the 6 separate, about 7,000 square feet each, light industrial buildings west of the subject property and located on the north side of Nail Road. So it's an area of town that's actively being developed, both commercially and light industrially. This seems to fit with that character. Next slide. Item D, adversely affect the general welfare of the city. Some have mentioned to staff and the Planning Commission during the processing of the case that there was a lot of visual number of gas stations or filling stations in town, but I just remember from the processing of the car wash that was discussed in earnest as far as the market viability and the number of land uses in the jurisdiction, and it was determined that the market was going to let the decide between basically the winners or the losers on that. And so staff I didn't go into any detail as far as locating all the gas stations in town or anything like that. There was some discussion at the Planning Commission level of maybe doing that, but in the end, that was not the motion for recommendation of approval. Next slide. E asks the question of whether the request would overtax or overburden public utilities or community facilities. Nothing really supplied by the applicant. Both public water and public sewer would be furnished in this location of town by the Horn Lake Water Association. They would require engineering approval as far as the connections prior to connecting and establishing service lines to the site. As I mentioned earlier, it's a positive feature that the roadway network is six lanes and it's paved in this portion of town. Next slide. Letter F here has to be asked the question whether there's anything in conflict with the comprehensive plan, which I usually break that into 4 parts. Future land uses. Part 5, Goal 1, talks about on pages 7 and 8 of the plan, promote the development of an appropriate mix of land use types that is responsive to market preferences, as well as the community's economic development objectives. So obviously this part of town is developing right now, and so the gas station could be a real decent fit from a land use perspective. Going on to number 2, general economy, just refer up above. There didn't seem to be anything specific other than what I pointed out before under item 1 there, the future land use. Number 3, which deals with transportation, part 5, objective number 1 of the plan on page 19. It says it encouraged the city to develop strategies to reduce congestion at peak times on the city's east-west corridors. It's obviously noted that Interstate Boulevard is a north-south route in town, but by having a gas or a filling station in this location of town could take some pressure off of the customers going to Goodman Road. So in that sense, it might actually help reduce congestion on Goodman Road by altering people's traffic patterns. Number 4, community facilities. There was nothing specific in support or against the proposed land use from this section of the plan. Next slide. So here we get to Article 10, which has to do with applications from the city zoning ordinance, and it's number 3. And these are the items that are specifically listed for consideration by the governing body. There's several letters here. Letter A has to do with like parking areas. There was nothing specifically listed on the site plan as provided by the applicant, but it's seen as far as the over 3 acres in consideration that it should be able to meet the parking standards for the city per the zoning ordinance. B has to do with refuse and service areas. Would concur with my last statement for B here. There should be ample area for both trash and service areas to serve the requested land use. C, which is the location of utilities and the availability. As I stated earlier, both public water and public sewer would be supplied by the Horn Lake Water Association. D, screening and buffering. Screening and buffering can come into play, particularly in the zoning ordinance when you have different zoning or you have different land uses that are next to one another. In this case, we actually see a more intensive land use to the east with the Core 5 warehouses. We see the road out front, which is directly west of the subject property. Then we have floodplain to the north. So there doesn't seem to be a strict requirement through the DeSoto Commons wording as far as screening and buffering for that type of thing at this particular site. Letter E, which has to do with required yards and other open space. Staff is going to treat the requested use basically as commercial, like a C4 type use, and apply those types of setback standards. F has to do with general compatibility with adjacent properties. I stated earlier that there's a mixture of commercial and light industrial land uses being developed both west and east of the subject property. Then item G would be any other provisions that the alderman may think of that you have questions about or concerns. So in the end, as I stated earlier, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the request for the gas station at this 6180 Interstate Boulevard with the zoning of PUD on the 3.06 acres plus or minus. And they did attach one condition to that one condition being the owner/applicant shall subdivide the property according to Chapter 34 subdivisions of the Horn Lake City Code. That would conclude the presentation unless you have any questions.
Thank you, sir, for a very thorough presentation. Now, tonight, we're not doing a site plan, we're just doing a conditional use, is that correct?
That is correct. There's wording on a conditional use that that applicant has to provide a site plan, kind of to give some detail as far as what they have in mind, but it is not a minutia detailed sort of thing where we're looking at the width of parking or the angles or the radius of turns going in and out of the facility, those types of things. So it's more of a higher level review, if you will.
So the site plan will come back before the board?
Yes, that would be correct.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, did you have something?
I was just going to jump in. I think the site plan won't come before this board unless there's a problem at the planning commission level, right?
That's correct, sorry. Yes.
Thank you, sir. All right. Does anyone have any questions on the board for Mr. Barr? Is there anyone in the audience that has any comments to make, pro or con? Yes, sir. Please, if you would. Yes, sir. How are you this evening?
All right, Mayor.
Good.
Galvin Freeman, 1398 Arbor Lake Drive North. I just want to talk on the plus side of the filling station. Is it gonna be like the Phillips 66, where they allow the tractor trailer that's be able to park over there for future development? A parking spot, you know, like the Phillips 66, how they got the tractor trailer parked there?
I don't think that's on there, is it? That'd be on the site plan anyway, wouldn't it, sir?
That would be on the
I
site
just saying
plan.
it's gonna be a plus for them, you know, I don't
Yeah.
be left out.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, that's
It's a
what,
very good question, too.
okay, that's all it was.
Anybody on the board have any questions or comments for Mr. Freeman? Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mr. Francis, did you have something, sir?
The name is Francis J. Miller, 7180 Benji Avenue, voting resident of Horn Lake, 13 and a half years, DeSoto County, 30 years. Proud of that, too. I'll keep it under 3 minutes, too. I'll get right to the point. We need that filling station and all that revenue on that part of town and get that Interstate Boulevard under revenue producing for the city. It's been sitting there since I've been in DeSoto County. I would love to see that revenue, that filling station, and all that money.
Thank you, sir. Did anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Francis? Is there anyone else? Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Bostic.
I was just wondering if you voted twice, you got 2 stickers on. You can only vote once.
Democrat, Republican.
Okay.
Cancel out.
You had to ask, didn't you?
What's bad, he's independent.
I had something I wanted to say, too.
Yes, sir.
Back months ago, I had requested from Vince about getting streetlights put down Interstate Boulevard and Nell Road. He provided me with the cost of that, and we have a lot of work that's going in with these new warehouses and now filling station and more things down the road. And it's something that we need to think about as a board about getting the traffic lights there and also figure out, Jim, what we're going to do about the roads over there, because all these big trucks going in there, we know that road over there was not put in up to par probably from the very beginning. And I don't know how other cities do it, but I have been told that some companies, when they come in and build a big deal, they kind of help out with street lights or buy a couple street lights, whatever. It's just something we need to think about as a board down the road, because if we're going to have all that growth going on over there, we need to have street lights all the way down both sides, or at least down the middle, to provide safety in there and prepare to fix that road sooner or later.
Good idea, sir. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Anybody else in the audience?
Mayor, I had a comment. We should be able to go back to Entergy on the lighting. Hopefully you all noticed They have started all replacing the lights all the way down Goodman Road with the LEDs. Actually, they were out in front of City Hall. They've been working their way up Goodman, so that's what you all approved, several months ago. They're changing out, close to 100 lights, changing them over to LEDs, and then we should be able to go back and along with maybe talking to Miss Lisa over there at Core 5, working on Interstate Boulevard. But you should see a big difference down Goodman with the new lights and shining on the new paved road.
Anybody else? Anybody else in the audience? Mr. George, come forward, please, sir.
My name is George Watson, 2650 Valley Brook. Yes, sir, Your Honor. I'm wondering how all of this is will concern the traffic coming off of Goodman onto interstate, especially the interstate traffic. If we have truck traffic trying to get in that turn lane, is that going to make any problems with backup on the interstate for that turn? It's especially in rush hour. I mean, it takes a while to get through that turn lane on the interstate and come from north to south. And I'm curious about what that's going to do to more traffic being installed at the interstate in Goodman.
I don't know. That's a very good question, though. It's a very good question.
I had a
Alderman Bostic, did you have one from Mr. George?
Hey, Mr. George, I don't like making that turn either, so what I do is go down to where Tractor Supply is, and you can go down that way, and you can hook right back into Interstate Boulevard around that circle there to keep from having to go, right there. So there is a bypass around there.
Right.
That's got a little more open space there.
I understand that, but if we're going to have warehouses over in that area,
Right.
we're going to have tractor trailers coming through there. And tractor trailer turned down by Tractor Supply. Is that going to be another problem?
Yeah, maybe. I guess I'll have to reroute back down 51. So
And I know I knew that access would have been great to go on through from Goodman to Church, but I know that that's not possible with the motels up there by Goodman. But it just kind of hit me. I mean, how much more traffic is going to be going down Goodman? Truck traffic going to those warehouses, and truck traffic going to the warehouse that just got built on Nail Road.
Right.
And do more warehouses with truck traffic.
Yes, so this board approved building Pepper Chase Drive, where it'll be going in by the new warehouses on
Right.
the east side, taking it down to our city limits. And the county government and the city of South Haven have agreed verbally to bring Pepper Chase Drive on up and hook it to
Right.
where ours ends. So theoretically, a truck should be able to get off of Church Road, come up Pepper Chase, like going to those big, that's what you're concerned about, those big warehouses.
Yeah.
Although they're not gonna be as big as the one on Nail Road. And then that way, when they get ready to leave, they can just hop on Interstate Boulevard, go up, take a right, and get on the expressway.
Okay.
But that's the long-range plan, so
All right. Thank you, sir.
thank you, sir. Anyone else? Anyone else? It's just pertaining to this conditional use for the gas station, sir. If there are no more remarks, this public hearing is now closed. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Alderman Dupree.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the conditional use for the gas station
Is that with the recommendation of
with the recommendations.
the
yes.
staff? All right. We have a motion by Alderman Dupree. Do we have a second? Second by Alderman Young. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Young. Aye. Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson. Aye. Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Geis.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Klein.
McLean.
Yeah, I'm having a little trouble hearing. It's an aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. All right. Roman numeral 5 is also a public hearing, which I now declare open. It's for asking for a resolution to clean some property that has not been maintained. Is there anyone on the board has any remarks about this property? Is there anyone in the audience to discuss this? There being none, I now declare this public hearing closed. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Alderman Bostic.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution of cleaning the property as posted.
We have a motion by Alderman Bostic. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Bledsoe. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please, sir. Miss Julie, I'm sorry.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Aye.
Alderman Geis.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson. Aye. Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Young.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Number 6 is citizens' remarks. Mr. Jim, do we have any? Please remember when you come forward, there's a 3-minute limit on this. So be concise, please. The reason for the limit is it's not fair to the board members or department heads if you bring up an issue for them to have to make a decision cold. This gives them time to consider it for the next board meeting. Thank you, sir. Mr. Patrick Gibbs? Is that correct, sir? You already have his address and everything, don't you, Mr. Jim? All right, sir. This is Mr. Patrick Gibbs, lives on Edenshire.
Gibson.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah. I live over here, right over here by the new gas station, 3470 Edenshire. And my understanding was when they was gonna build that, they was gonna put a privacy fence in between our property and the gas station. Well, I get a copy of the plat, and there's nothing there. And then there's a retention pond back there. And you know what retention pond, all it does is accumulate critters and everything else. And, I've just got a kind of question on that is, nobody's living there but the people live on that backside of the gas station. And a privacy fence would keep the trash and everything down, plus all the riffraff. But I don't see anything about this on this plan.
I don't remember off the top of my head, to be honest with you, sir.
I know, but I'm just saying that I've got a copy of it.
All right, have you got a copy of it, sir? Or do you have one?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I think what he's got is from our case file, it was case 2018. I think it was approved by the city in January of last year. It's for the gas station over here that's being constructed. It doesn't appear to show any fencing on the east side, even though it would be basically C4 commercial up against residential. I don't recall the exact residential zoning. I think normally there would be some type of buffer yard or screening that would be required. I don't know if that was just missed or if it was just left off the site plan. I don't know for certain.
Would there be the possibility of going back through the minutes to see the motion that approved that?
Yes, staff, we could do some research to see if that was talked about or discussed, and if it was left out, or if it was supposed to be on there, or whatever the situation would be.
And Mr. Gibbs has left his phone number here. After y'all have a chance to research it, could you let the board members and me and Mr. Gibbs know what you found?
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Gibbs might need to come back,
It's Gibson, Gibson.
Okay.
Oh, it's Gibson, I'm sorry.
It's my
Your writing's almost as bad as mine, you know?
I write like a doctor.
Yeah, this is just a,
But then the detention area back there, I mean, wouldn't it be just simple to put some drain back there, a pipe and cover it up and put sod on it? This way it's not open to the critters and the mosquitoes that's gonna sit there, because you know that's not gonna drain all the time. It's always gonna have water sitting on it.
and I would have to, you've caught me, like I said, cold, I'd have to look. I believe you, I'd have to go, I'm talking, we're running out of time. I'm just saying, I don't have the information up here that I need to answer your question. That's in whose ward?
that's in my ward.
Did you want to look at?
I've spoke with him the other day and got with Vince actually on that. And I've actually talked to Vince again today, and Vince went by there and I went by there. And I was gonna see if Stephen could go over there and see, there's water standing over there now. So I'm not sure what was in the plan, if that was, but from what I understand, Vince told me it's supposed to be a detention pond and not a retention pond.
Yeah, it's a detention pond, yeah.
But it's standing full of water right now. And there is no fence up against that, so that water's like 2 feet from their fence. And we gotta do something to fix that. There's like 6 houses there. He's the one on the corner, and then there's another 5 or 6 houses right there. So if we drop the ball on that, we'll have to figure something out. As soon as Chad can get some information back to us, and Vince will hop on that, Mr. Gibson.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gibson. All right. Mayor Alderman correspondence. First thing, hope everybody has noticed the blacktop job that's going on Highway 302 Goodman Road. We want to thank Commissioner Caldwell, the district engineer for MDOT, Mr. Mitch Turner, and of course, the Mississippi Department of Transportation. That's a $4 million job that's costing the citizens of Horn Lake, or the city of Horn Lake, zero. MDOT is paying for all of that and doing the work. We certainly thank them. Not this Friday, June the 24th, Friday at 8 o'clock in the morning. Do any of y'all get that little virtual paper that Mr. Bob Bachman sends out? They had an article in there that this Friday, not this Friday, June the 24th, 8 o'clock, in the Board of Supervisors room, they're going to go over and have discussions on the proposed regulations for medical marijuana in DeSoto County. Mr. Jim is going to show me tomorrow how to copy that off and send it to y'all. If any of y'all might be interested in going down to see what all they're going to be talking about, what their proposed regulations and zoning are, the city of Horn Lake and the city of South Haven opted out for the time being. We had questions about the law, how was it going to work out in practice? And this might be a good opportunity for us to see what some other people have. All right, then of course, I sent y'all an email about the sheriff coming by here Friday. The Board of Education offered $400,000 to each municipality. They've since changed that. This afternoon I got it, $60,000 per officer. So there will be an SRO in every school in DeSoto County and an SRO in every school in Horn Lake. Of course, every one of you know that the shortage of police in every citizen. Chief Rowell and I met with Sheriff Rasco. He just called and said he wanted to come by, and he didn't tell us what he wanted to talk about until he got here Friday afternoon. And he is graciously asking every city that he will provide the officers. Then the funds will go to him. But the bottom line is there will be a SRO in every school in DeSoto County. It will not pull any of our officers off the street. And I think Chief Rouse said none of ours are really interested in being SROs at the present time. And besides that, if we had to maintain them and send them, we wouldn't have time to get more officers and have them trained and back by the time school starts in August. Alderman Geis made a very good question that, the sheriff's going to have to hire some more. And I'm just like you, Alderman Geis. We just hope that we really don't have an option. And also, if the sheriff is providing the SROs, doesn't that take some of the liability off of us in some situations, Mr. Campbell?
Potentially, yes, sir.
So it would be a SRO officer in every school in Horn Lake. We'd be relieved of a lot of our liability, and it wouldn't cost the taxpayers anything. I just wanted to keep the board informed as to what was going on. It all kind of happened kind of quick. All right.
I had a question on that.
Yes, sir.
Is that just a one-year deal? I know he's not running for re-election. Is this a Sheriff Rasco deal? Is this a supervisor deal, or is
This is the sheriff's department.
just for the 1 year for
He
now?
didn't have a time limit. elementary school from now on. And the school board, by offering this year, to me, they've sort of committed themselves to fund this for every year in the future. And it's kind of a precedent.
Right.
And so it's a saver to us, I tell you.
Right.
Did that answer?
Yes, sir.
Alderman Geist.
Didn't the school board already pay for one?
They finally upped the total. Alderman Bledsoe.
Did we not get a thing that said they trying to put 2 in each school, or it's just one?
It's just one so far. That's my understanding, and at the price that the school board offered to, reimburse them, it'd just be one. There's 40-something schools. 40-something.
Just write a check?
Alderman Johnson, and you need firsthand information on this. She's the librarian at the intermediate school.
I want you to clarify what an SRO is.
That is the armed police officer on duty.
School Resource Officer.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, you wanted me to say.
The public may not know. I
Oh,
just want you to
okay.
explain
I
what
got
it
you
is.
now.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. School Resource Officer. Anything else? I have nothing else. Alderman Young, did you have anything?
Couple of things, Mayor, thank you.
Yes, sir.
On June the 25th, the American Legion will support a fish fry from 4 to 7. Everybody's invited to come down. The fire and police are certainly welcome. Come down to the fish fry on June the 25th, 4 to 7, for a fish fry. Last time we did it, we had them standing outside the door. Pretty good deal. And this Saturday, we'll have breakfast at the American Legion from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then directly following that, we will have a flag retirement. So if you have any flags at your home that you wish to retire, get them to the American Legion or bring them on Saturday. And we will proceed with that flag retirement following breakfast. Thank you, sir.
What time was that, Alderman?
8 to 10 is the breakfast, and then directly following breakfast will be the flag retirement.
Thank you, sir. Alderman Dupree, you have anything?
No, sir, not tonight.
Alderman Johnson.
Yes, sir. I have a couple of things. The Horn Lake Optimist Club will be having a Respect for Law event on June 18th. Our police officers will be out and we'll be having fun with the children, reading with them, kickball, and playing games. And that is next weekend, next Saturday. So look for details for that. Also, we're quickly approaching Christmas, and our Christmas committee has planned on meeting. Mr. Box, do you know of, or the mayor, I believe, have you all gotten a catalog or anything as far as lights that we can have possibly to purchase for the poles, some of the streets? I know they're expensive, so it's time now for us to jump on that if we're going to be able to do that.
Yes, ma'am. I received some and I gave them to Mr. Robinson.
Mr. Robinson, okay. Well, it's time now for us to get going on that.
Where and what time on the 18th, ma'am? Is to support the police?
One moment, please, sir.
It's going to be at the park behind the library.
In the library and at that park. It is Lo siento mucho. I want to say 11 to 1, but I do want to make sure of the time before I say that.
All right. Well, if you find it out, we can put it on the city website.
Yes, sir. It is 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock
11 to 1.
on June 18th.
Thank you so much, and please turn out to support the police, support all of your emergency services, fire, ambulance, everything, please.
Mayor.
Anything else, Alderman?
No, sir.
Sir?
Oh, I do have something else on there. I want to thank the chief, Ryle. He's going to have a couple of officers come out if possible and read books and do some things for the kids. I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, that's good. Get the police involved with our citizens. Alderman Bostic, do you have anything, sir? Alderman Geist?
Yes, sir. Just one thing. You mentioned medical marijuana in the county's meeting. Our committee met, and we were going to let Mr. Jim know that we want the medical marijuana issue on the next agenda. We came up with a preliminary plan that we want to present to the rest of the board.
Good. Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
Alderman Bledsoe?
One thing, Chief, if you got that electronic sign, Jonathan, they are requesting, see if you can get some of those speeders. So tell them to slow down on Jonathan. I got a complaint the other day, and I can hear them from my porch, so it's a good long strip there, so it's a nice drag. They do pretty good. And let me ask you one other thing.
Yes, sir.
When we go to the coast, has anybody said anything about upping your gas money that you're going, or, because now it's about $5 a gallon?
We follow the federal guidelines, I believe, don't we? They haven't said anything.
Oh, that's what, about $2.50 a gallon?
Yeah.
Okey doke.
Alderman Klein, did you have anything, sir?
No, sir.
All righty. All right. Chief Ryle, do you have anything, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything tonight. You covered everything that I had.
All right. Thank you, sir. You might want to explain it better than I did.
You did a wonderful job.
No, I didn't either. Think so. Mr. Box, I see you grinning like a Cheshire cat down there.
The only thing I have to say, I'd like to thank Calvin Freeman for bringing the Gatorade and stuff by the public workshop the other day for us. That was very nice. Pro Horn Lake citizen right there.
Did you take it all?
I got it all in my cooler at the shop. Guys get it when they need it.
Not being shared?
Oh, it's being shared.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Anybody have any questions for Chief Ryle or Mr. Box? Alderman Dupree.
I do. Hey, Chief, I went over to Ravenwood area today, over on Manchester. Had a complaint about speeders and actually racing. I went over there and saw the skid marks. It is it's pretty bad. If you can have some people to do some extra patrol over in that area, that would be great.
Anyone else? Chief Linville, did you have anything for the board, sir?
I just have, next week we're doing Fire Academy for Kids, so I'm going to invite everybody, if you want to come or can attend, we'll have the graduation on the 17th at 11 o'clock at Fire Station number 3. And if you know of anybody that wants to get in it, we probably still got a few slots. We're pretty full, about 30 kids right now, I think, maybe 35. But
that's a wonderful thing y'all do.
It will start Monday morning. Yeah.
It's fun. Anybody have any questions or comments? Mr. Aker? Where's Representative Hester Jackson? I didn't recognize you back there. How are you doing? Welcome. This is our state representative, Representative Hester Jackson McCray. Welcome. That's what you get for wearing a mask. I didn't recognize you at all. Forgive me, please. She worked hard, extremely hard, to keep the hotel motel fee for Horn Lake, which generates about $300,000 a year. Thank you, ma'am. Anybody have any questions for Chief Linville? Mr. Coleman, do you have anything for the board, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. Our summer events are up and running. We've got our Wet and Wild Wednesdays over at Greg Maxey Park. It's kind of like a slip and slide event. And we've got Field Day Friday, which is at Latimer. We do different games. This Friday is going to be kickball. And then also we have our movie schedule going. Our first movie is this Saturday. It's Encanto, and it'll be held at Latimer Lakes Park by the office. And then second, I would like to give a special thanks to Mr. Bruce and Donna Pruitt for their contribution to the fireworks on the 2nd. I believe that this is going to be a really special fireworks show. It should go about 30 minutes long, so it's going to be really special that night. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. And yes, the board approved accepting the donation. What was it budgeted for the fireworks originally? 15,000?
Yes, sir.
And this, to the generosity of Mr. Bruce Pruitt and Miss Donna Pruitt, you're going to have $25,000 worth of fireworks. Like Mr. Colvin said, maybe a 30-minute show. So please come out July the 2nd. July the 2nd. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Colvin? Mr. Vance, do you have anything for the board, sir?
Mayor, just a couple of things here, but I guess first of all, you had requested kind of a status on the bridge on Tulane. I know it's got some settlement issue there, and we have notified the contractor. He does have a 1-year contractor's warranty, so he would be operating under that. We've notified him that he will have to make that repair, and he's agreed to do that. When he does it, I'm not sure, but he says that he's got to get over here and look at it and see what kind of equipment he's going to need first of all. So he's on his way to make the repairs. Just to let you know that.
Is there any, not to belabor a point, what's causing it? Just the...
Well, basically, you know, it settles. Bridge ends are notorious for that, to be honest with you. There's actually companies that go around, you know, that do just that, raise the pavement at the bridge end. It's just the impact loading that occurs right there, and it takes a while for it to reach, you know, equilibrium over the year, especially new construction like that. They did compact it properly. They did use proper soils. It's just nature of the beast, especially if you get a lot of rain and stuff, you know, after construction in low areas like that. So it's just a settlement issue that will eventually, you know, get to a point of where it'll be won't settle anymore, hopefully.
Thank you, sir. Did you say you had another issue also?
I just wanted kind of a point of information here. I know we're getting closer to, and you guys probably know this, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Is the ARPA funds that are coming down from the state, I am in the process of updating the project list, the infrastructure project list for water and sewer. I think y'all all seen that, you know, in the past, but I've made some updates to it, and I'm going to get that to you guys here shortly because it's my understanding that sometime around the 1st of July, they will open up the applications for competitive projects for the money that the state will be matching the federal ARPA money with. So I just want to be prepared for that, be ready for that, and I'll get this list to you guys so that y'all can review it and make sure that, you know, y'all approve what we're looking at and y'all approve the projects we're looking at so that when the time does come, we can move forward without any hesitation.
Thank you, Mr. Vance. I know because we're getting a little over $6 million ARPA. 3 we've already got. Mr. Robinson banked it, and so it's sitting in the bank. We already get the rest. But $3 million is already committed to the sewer. So I would hope the state would consider that. They could throw a little in to match that also. I know they've already got down $10 million, but if we could get a match on that, of course I know it's over a $200 million project, so it's just, well, we're having to come up with the sewer since Memphis has decided to terminate the contract. I appreciate everything you've done, Mr. Vance. Yes, I really do. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Vance?
Mayor.
Alderman Dupree.
Hey, where are we standing, or where do you stand on the Twin Lakes issue, the water in Twin Lakes? We're supposed to get a filtration system. Where are we on that?
Yes, sir. We're in design, and we had to do, not really a pause, but we had to make some field tests. I think Mr. Box is checked on it, but we were trying to verify some readings that we were getting from the well as far as the iron amounts and magnesium amounts. We got that pretty much clarified, I think, and so we're in design, and we should have the plans ready for advertisement somewhere around near the end of August. So,
is there any projected cost
The cost, the only cost we have at this point was a preliminary estimate we did prior to plans, which was about $2 million total project cost.
Okay, so are we applying that $250,000 we got from the state?
Yes, sir.
Has that already been applied, or do we still have it?
I don't know if it's been applied. That's my understanding. That will be applied to this project. The only thing that's been charged to this at this time is our engineering fees, and so I know it's not $200,000 at this point.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Chad, do you have anything for the board?
Yes, I do. Thank you. The planning department is in receipt of a renewed proposal from the Orion Planning Group for the update of the comprehensive plan, and we've looked at that. And so we're in discussion to try to hopefully bring something to you. I don't know if it'll be this month or next month to approve officially, like the contract with them to update the comprehensive plan.
Thank you so much. Anyone have any questions? Mr. Robinson, Alderman Boss.
Have y'all had meetings yet with the group that?
No, sir. Very good question. Basically, we're almost to a conclusion of the formation of the advisory group. We're up to about 14 individuals. I'm working with one other individual, somebody in the younger demographic, that 18 to 39 demographic. If we get that person on board, then we'll have like 15 on the advisory group. But no, it has not. After the comprehensive plan officially gets basically kicked off and going through the contract. So I've been trying to formulate the advisory group while we're getting the final numbers on the from the planning consultant. Yeah. From the planning consultant. So once we get the signed contract going, then we can have some initial meetings, and then we'll be doing some stuff probably on the city's website. The comprehensive plan gets updated and the new plan gets formulated.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Robinson.
Well, I was just going to mention at your seat, the full packet I printed out from the Shelter Planners of America. You all approved, I believe, back in April for them to proceed with step one. They came into town. Then they had submitted this back in on May 10th. The committee met this week, and we went over their packet, but since the full board approved this, I wanted you to have a copy of that. You can look at that. It does have, they did a pretty extensive survey and questionnaire from the staff and volunteers, and they kind of summarized that. Towards the back, there is a cost page. You can look at two different proposals. And we can get into more discussion, but the committee has met and will be looking at actual site possibilities, and then they are wanting to do another Zoom meeting with the committee. But I just wanted to keep the board informed since you all approved this back in April.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Jim? I know I received an email from Mr. David that's doing our audit. It was kind of messed up because his computer had messed up. He couldn't send it earlier. But he hopes to have everything for the board July 5th?
A draft will be next board meeting, and then the full completed will be on the July 5th.
Thank you, sir. All right. Mr. Billy, do you have anything?
I do not, Mr. Mayor.
Pardon?
I don't have anything.
All right, sir. All right. That being the case, do we have a motion to go into closed determination?
Mayor,
Alderman Geist.
I make a motion to go and close the determination.
We have a motion by Alderman Geist. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Young. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Klein. Aye. Alderman Bledsoe.
Aye.
Alderman Geist.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Young.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all will excuse us for a few moments, please.
Chair's too low. Hey, man. 4 o'clock. I'll watch their pitching came.
Alderman Young.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will excuse us. Since Alderman Clyde can't hear this, he needs to just vote. I'd like to thank the members of the public who remain. Do we have a motion to come out of executive session? Motion by Alderman Young. Do we have a second to the motion? Second. Second by Alderman Geis. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please, Mr. Robbins.
Alderman Young. Alderman Dupree. Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic. Alderman Geis.
Motion carries.
Oh, sorry, Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Is there any motion to be made coming out of discussion in executive session?
Mayor,
Alderman Dupree.
I'd like to move to promote Stephen Box to the position of Public Works Director effective immediately and to increase his salary, annual salary to $75,000 effective June 12, 2022.
We have a motion by Alderman Dupree. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Second by Alderman Bostic. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Klein.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Geis. Alderman Bostic. Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree. Alderman Young.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. If there's no other business before this honorable board, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
Mayor,
Alderman Bledsoe.
will you accept that position?
Sir?
Will you accept that position?
That's a good question. Will you accept the position, sir?
I do accept the position, and I
Thank
thank
you
each
very
and every
much.
one of
You
y'all.
might have turned it.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes,
Did anybody make a motion?
I did. I'll make a
Alderman
motion.
Bledsoe made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Alderman Geis. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Young. Alderman Dupree. Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Geis. Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Klein.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Ladies and gentlemen.